All right, Marty and Lisa, can you come on camera? Marty and
Hello.
All right, Lisa. Oh, right. We made it. We made it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am personally so happy for this actual episode of Entrepreneurship Matters because I know both of you so well. And I'm so eager to get into the conversation. But before we get started, let me set up the today's event, and then we'll launch right into questions. So Entrepreneurship Matters is a conversation that we have with a local up-and-coming founder, as well as an established entrepreneur. What we know is that successful entrepreneurships and successful businesses aren't built overnight, that it takes undiluted passion, multiple failures, a lot of grit, and a long-term commitment. Today, we have two of Baltimore's finest, who we are featuring today. And let me introduce you. I'm going to give a part. I'm not going to steal the whole thunder, because thunder, and people will understand why I say that. But I'm going to set you up. Lisa Phillips is just a gem of Baltimore. She has an amazing background. She was a Baltimore City foster care alumna. She's I'm not going to give your story away because I want you to tell part of it, Lisa, on today's program, and have people come to you to learn more. Lisa makes custom design gift baskets. And while she was a junior, she participated in a final marketing exam group project and created a believable business, which ultimately became her business and led to the launch of her business, Celeebrate Us. Lisa has a master's degree, an undergraduate degree from Hopkins State, a master's degree in business administration from the University of Baltimore, and most recently, Celeebrate Us. I remember when this happened, was selected to pitch to the Home Shopping Network. She has received so many awards, so many accolades. She was a Greater Baltimore Urban League Entrepreneur of the Year in 2017, a GBC Bridging the Gap recipient, and received a Maryland House of Delegates citation for her community work. Lisa has persevered. She is one who has been thrown a number of curveballs and has come out of it doing so well. So welcome, Lisa. And Marty Schwartz started Vehicles for Change in 1999 with $30,000 in personal funds invested by a senior management of Precision CertaPro warehouse. He has built Vehicles for Change into an impactful business and workforce development program in Baltimore, but also a business. VFC was selected as a best practice organization in a national study completed by the National Economic Development and Law Center. And in 2005, Marty started Freedom Wheels, which is a retail used car business that is a subsidiary of Vehicles for Change. He also has written books on social entrepreneurship. Your latest book was Social Entrepreneurship, Effective Social Entrepreneurship, Practical Advice, and Best Practices from Leaders in the Field. You also serve on the Baltimore Workforce Investment Board and the local board of the Social Enterprise Alliance. So welcome to both of you in this segment. So why don't we just launch right in? Can you talk a little bit about what inspired you to be an entrepreneur? Why don't we start with Lisa?
What really kind of led to me being an entrepreneur is that I'm a person that I always feel that anything that pains you can also empower you. So very early in my life, I made some bad decisions, and it landed me in a place where it became difficult for me to get a job. And so when you have children, unfortunately, they become the collateral damage when, you make certain decisions. And so I had to still take care of my kids. And so I knew that I couldn't continue to make bad decisions that would lead me to be taken away from my kids. So I had to learn a way to take care of them without, being compromised, breaking the law, doing something to, be away from my kids. And so that was my motivation for becoming an entrepreneur. And so, but one of the things that I learned early in trying to become an entrepreneur is that I just didn't know enough. And so any kind of attempt that I would make to become an entrepreneur, to get someone to pay for something that I created, I just didn't have the skill set. And so I knew that I needed to invest in my learning. And so I decided to, go.
Oh, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, Lisa, for some reason. Lisa? Lisa? Uh-oh. All right, Marty. Well, while we're getting Lisa's sound back,
all right.
why don't you tell us what inspired you to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so for me, it was a lot different. As a young kid, 10-year-old, I had a paper route. And back in those days, many moon ago, when you were a paper boy, you had to do everything. You actually did accounting, you collected the money, you paid for the newspapers, you had to order the newspapers. And I kind of learned early on that this was kind of fun. I really liked calling the shots and having my own business and making money particularly. And so it kind of grew on me. And as I got older, and some of the jobs that I had, I worked at Cardinal Gibbons High School and created some businesses within the high school to generate more revenue. And I was also a head baseball coach. So again, kind of that running the whole deal and doing everything. And so when I left, I was at UMBC for 6 years, from 1990 to 1996. And I left there in 96 and started my own business, which was an athletic recruiting service. It was internet-based. And, just the idea, again, of taking an idea and building on that idea. So I've also always loved building. I build furniture, but I love taking stuff from nothing and growing it. And I think that's my inspiration, really, is kind of growing something from the ground up, from absolutely nothing, and then seeing what you build from the backside.
Now, let me ask you, both are in two different businesses. And I know we're going to get into, you both work together. Lisa calls you her mentor, talks about how she first met you. Can you take us through, we'll start with Lisa again. Lisa, take us through step by step. How did you get started in your business?
So how I got started in my business.
And let me set this up. There are people taking notes. They got pens and papers like me. They want to know step by step. Take us through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How did you go from having an idea about how you were going to provide for your family, how you're going to start a business, into launching?
Okay. So one of the things that I understood, that especially with starting a business, that starting a business has to start with a plan. And so, but when you're coming out of a wilderness, so to speak, which is what I was, trying to just kind of find my way and manage with 3 children. So one of the things that I understood is that I needed help, right? And the help that I needed came in the form of counseling. And so one of the things that people make the mistake of is trying to start things new and do things new, and not understanding that you have to get to the core of, who you are and what your real abilities are before you can start anything. And so I felt that counseling was the best way, to start that journey. And I realized that, nothing was going to stick unless I got tools, because that's what counseling does. It provides you with tools and a roadmap on how to move your life forward. And so, in the midst of getting counseling, my wonderful counselor, she told me, she said, Lisa, you see yourself as broken. And so, in order for you to really start your journey, you have to see yourself whole. And she said, I want you to start a hobby on something that you can see the pieces, but you can also visualize with work that it's something that can become beautiful. And so I tried cooking and sewing and baking, and nothing really captured me until one day, one of my coworkers brought in a gift basket, and it was beautiful. It was St. Patrick's Day. So it had a St. Patrick's Day theme. And I asked, I said, wow, that's beautiful. And she said, yeah, but it's hard work, and it looks easier than it is. And so, that inspired me. And so I self-taught myself how to make gift baskets. And if you've ever tried to make a gift basket, it's pieces everywhere. And that was kind of reflective of my life. But at the end of it was something beautiful. And so at the same time, I started school, and I had to do an assignment for marketing to do a believable business. And at this time, I was so inspired by the gift baskets that I decided to make that a believable business. And so unbeknownst to me, there were two football players in my class. And I made, for my presentation, a Baltimore Ravens gift basket. And I'm doing this presentation, and my professor said to me, you need to speed this up. And I said, why? She said, oh, because there's a sign-in sheet going around with orders for your baskets. And
wow.
Wow. And it started because when the football players saw the Ravens basket, they was like, so how can we get, one of those? And I said, I don't do this as a business. She said, I think you do. And so I went home for Christmas, and I did a focus group. And I had a whole bunch of baskets that I made, and I invited some people in, and they looked at the products, and they gave me feedback. And that's how Celeebrate Us gift baskets was born.
So let me lift up, because you said 4 steps that you use to start your business. And I want people to make sure they're taking notes on this. First, you talked about a plan. And I'm glad that you talked about, and I appreciate your candor and your openness in talking about counseling.
Yeah.
Oh, your counselor really guided you to helping you to then understand what were your abilities and your tools
you
were going to use, and what was the roadmap. Second, you self-taught yourself. So you taught yourself the craft. Third, you got a focus group. Well, I'm going to insert a point you didn't say. You found the market, right? You saw where you could sell it. You found a focus group, and then you took the feedback and refined points for the people who are on here.
Yeah. And the reason why...
Oh, I should have told everybody. These two are talkers. So talking when I'm giving up another question, they're just gonna keep talking. That's just no, keep going, Lisa.
No, the only point I was gonna make is that one of the strengths of being an effective entrepreneur is to be open to feedback. And so you have a lot of entrepreneurs that their audience can be limited sometimes. And so if your audience are people who love and adore you, you may not be getting an accurate, realistic feedback, or whether or not something can be a viable business. And so I really think that being open to feedback, whether it's good or bad, that's a part of your roadmap, especially negative feedback. If it's constructive, it's going to, encourage you to do better.
Yep. Yep. How about you, Marty? How did you start Vehicles for Change?
So Vehicles for Change a little bit different because it wasn't my idea. There was a group of folks at Precision CertaPro that owned this company that sold auto parts to distribute to garages. And they were looking to build a nonprofit to give back to the community where they were working. Part of the idea was for them to build additional business, right? They wanted to be able to go in these garages and say, look what we're doing for the community. And just by luck, we just happened to cross paths. And they were struggling with trying to figure out how to take this idea of getting cars in the hands of families. And I had a lot of experience. I was lucky along the way that I have an undergrad in accounting, a master's degree in information systems design. I did development work. I did marketing. So I had all the pieces to pull together. And I had a vision. When we started talking, things just start to happen in my head and ideas just start to churn. And literally in a 2-hour meeting, I started going, hey, have you tried this? Have you thought about that? And what about if you did this? And this was at a point in time when the business that I had started coming out of UMBC was really starting to peter out. And I'll tell you, you don't learn more. You learn a whole lot about how to run a business when you fail.
Yeah.
And so it really wasn't a failure. It was kind of a practice to be where I am. And so, like Lisa, we put together a business plan. I sat down and wrote a business plan. I did some research, reached out to some folks who I knew in the field who were in the social service circles because it's not something that I had done. I don't know anything about cars. I'm not a car guy. And I had never been in the social service world or workforce development. So as we started to look at this and do some research, really started to realize that there was a tremendous need for a program like this. And so from that, started going to some of my contacts and talking about, hey, how do we raise money for this? How do we get these cars fixed? And kind of really put that plan together. I think the other piece of being an entrepreneur is you have to be a little bit crazy. And you have to be a risk taker. I mean, it's not for everybody, because, day after day, you're trying to figure out how to make this thing work. And then all of a sudden you have employees and those employees are counting on you to make sure things work. And so, you have to have a stomach for it.
Yeah. You raised up, I have 6 points that you raised up. One of them's going to sound crazy because it is crazy, but you talked about having a vision, right? You had to strike out with a vision for what you wanted. Second, when the vision was given to you and also provided by you, you tried to problem solve around that vision. So you didn't take the problems that were with the vision and stop. You started problem solving. How can we solve it and keep moving forward? The third thing you talked about was the plan. And both of you, talk about that plan. And we've heard other entrepreneurs. Then had to go to people with the expertise. So you went to the folks who were in the social service, who were in automotives. I always thought you were an automotive guy.
No.
Ben told me I thought you fixed cars. The fifth thing was you went to your contacts to raise money. And we've talked about that, you're on the nonprofit side, but we've also talked about that on the for-profit side, that friends and family contacts, raising of capital for yourself. And then 6, you got to mix in a little bit of crazy. And mix in a little bit of that risk factor for you to start. I want you to answer this question, but I also want people to have a scope of what your businesses are, and understand what you do. So Lisa, tell me, what's your greatest accomplishment? And there have been many. I've been there to celebrate some of them. But tell them about what you do as a workforce training provider, scope and scale of what you're doing.
So my company's called Celeebrate Us. And one of the things that I learned, once again, I always lean back to the tools that I learned in counseling. I learned that a lot of what my challenges, the source of a lot of my challenges was because I had never been celebrated
Mm.
my life. I never had a birthday party. I had 3 children, but never had a baby shower. I got married at the courthouse. So I never had anything celebrated about me. And so I had a tendency to overcompensate. And so when you overcompensate and your self-esteem is not on solid footing, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. And so I can't stress enough the importance of taking care of your mental health. And I can't stress that enough because mental health or seeking counseling is really just tools. You know, you are talking to a trained mind that is going to give you tools on how to become a better problem solver, how to understand who you are, right? And how to manage. One of the things I teach my students is life is about management. You know, we manage our weight, we manage our, you know, what we eat, we manage our finances, we manage and maintenance our car, but we don't understand the importance of managing our mental health. And so you can't be successful at anything if you're not healthy enough to do it. And so I really, really, really applaud, you know, the work that was done, you know, and so I always wanted a business that celebrated people because I never wanted anyone to have to make mistakes, the mistakes I made in order to come to themselves, to become something. And so that's how Celebrate Us came. So I celebrate people in 3 ways. I celebrate through gift baskets, through gifting. I celebrate through work. You know, work is important, but there's something about the pride of working. And then I celebrate people through occasions, right? Because, you know, people are critical of people to have these real lavish birthday parties for babies. But no, give that baby that affirmation, right? Because that's what the celebration is. And so, Celebrate Us Workforce Training is a celebration of people through work and training, you know, because we are a working society, you know.
And what are the areas you train in? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that's important when you're an entrepreneur, in the beginning, you're going to be the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, because it's very important that you as the founder, as the owner, it's very important for you to touch every part of the business. So if you as the owner or the founder, you know, can't touch every part of the business, you're not going to have the ability to train others, you know, how to run the business. However, at some point, you have to find your role in the business, and your role in the business can't be everything. And so you have to develop certain skills so that your business can run effectively. And so my role in Celebrate Us Workforce Training is that I teach a very comprehensive readiness part, because people want success, they want a good job, they want a training, they want certification, but not everybody is ready for success. And what I mean by readiness, you know, I mean, what are the intricate parts of you that make you you? Are you disagreeable? Are you angry? Are you a person that it's your way or the highway? And so no matter what your dream is for yourself, if you don't have a grasp on your own readiness, you're going to stop and start. And so my role now at Celebrate Us is to make sure that people are ready for what is next for them.
That's good. That's good. And Marty, can you talk about what Vehicles for Change? I've been able to witness actually some people I work with receive cars through Vehicles for Change. So tell everyone what Vehicles for Change is about and what you're doing.
Sure, absolutely. So Vehicles for Change is a 20-year-old nonprofit, and we really address two of the major issues that impact generational poverty, and that's transportation and incarceration. So, transportation, ever since we started this program back in 1999, has been identified as the number one barrier to employment for people living in poverty. And so we take donated cars and we repair them, and then we identify families who need a car to get to and from employment to escape poverty. Most of our recipients are single moms. So we provide them with a car. They actually buy the car. They have a vested financial interest in the program, and they get a 6-month, 6,000-mile warranty with their car, and they get a 12-month loan. So they establish credit while they're paying for their car. So we really try to wrap the whole program around to give them a tool that's going to allow them to move forward. And back in 2015, we decided that we wanted to go into the training side of the program. And so we opened what we call the Full Circle Auto Repair and Training Center. And we trained individuals, about 95% of them who were recently released from incarceration, to be auto mechanics. So it really brought the program full circle. We're the only business like this in the country. There is no other organization that does what we do the way we do it.
Excellent, excellent. And I've witnessed what you do. I want to let me remind people who are on Facebook as well as in the chat, and we're starting to get questions in. You can also, those who are on the phone, you can text your questions to 22333. So that's 22,333. Type JHUWL in the message, and we will get your questions, and I will ask them. I promise I will not leave anyone out. We're having, we're going to get a lot of questions. Hold on. Let me ask one question before I get to all the questions that we're getting on Facebook and in the chat. How do you, what's your long-term vision for Celebrate Us? What's your dream for the business? Where are you going? And then Marty, I'm going to give you, no, you know what? I'm starting with Marty. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think about this. Dream a little bit, Lisa. Marty, where's Vehicles for Change going? What's your vision for the next steps for your organization? Sure.
So, the one thing that we're absolutely aware of is that the need for transportation is across the country. Actually, it's international, right? We've seen programs all over the country or individuals all over the world that need transportation to get to work. And the same thing with incarceration. I mean, there's individuals coming out of incarceration every day, anywhere you live, anywhere in the country that need skills training and need the opportunity to get gainful employment. It's the number one issue when it comes to recidivism. The national recidivism rate is over 70%. Our recidivism rate is less than 2%. We've had less than two individuals out of 160 go back to prison. And it's because they're coming out with good jobs. It's a career, and they've got the people skills and the soft skills to move forward in their lives. So we as an organization really feel like that this is a program that should be national. And I recently actually just put together a program to expand Vehicles for Change to 9 new cities in the next 3 years. It's a $20 million project. I'm actually in the process of kind of making those first steps to start raising those funds to take that program to the next level. We're actually working right now on an expansion into Prince George's County and into Salisbury. So we're currently located in Halethorpe. We have a garage on Greenmount Avenue in Waverly, not far from Hopkins campus. And so our next 2 locations in Maryland will be Prince George's County, which we should be up and running in the next 3 to 4 months, and Salisbury by, I would say, February of next year. And that's amazing, Marty. And you're right. If you, the usefulness of what you are doing is so important. Lisa, what about you? What's the next on the horizon for Celebrate Us?
So one of the things that I don't think has been mentioned yet is the role of mentorship And so,
oh no, I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it. Answer my question on the vision for the business. I'm gonna get to mentorship. I promise
Lisa likes to hijack. Lisa likes to hijack you.
I didn't want to hijack it.
I got this.
It's only because I really just wanted to pay homage to Marty as my mentor, because you asked me what my larger dream is, and it was the confidence that I developed with being a mentee of Marty's that gave me confidence to take Celeebrate Us on the road. And so Celeebrate Us is now in Pennsylvania and in Delaware. And so I wouldn't have never had the confidence to do something like that, because that's a huge undertaking, because it's very easy to navigate and move around with where you were raised, where you were born. But I didn't know a soul in Pennsylvania. I didn't know a soul in Delaware. And so it took confidence to believe enough in Celeebrate Us that I could not only take Celeebrate Us to another state, but take it to another state and be successful, because, all your support is home, so to venture out like that. And I wasn't hijacking. I know you weren't. You brought it all full circle. I want to get into that story about you and Marty meeting one another. I think that's an important one for people to hear. So no, you did a great job. Excellent job. Let's segue off of that and talk about mentorship. And Lisa and Marty, on our prep call, you both talk about mentors. You also, you talk about guidance in the business, who you've learned from. I want people to know how you two met, and how, I say that both of you are engaged in the business, but I feel like you're both engaged in the ministry. It's bigger than you both. Talk about how you met, Lisa. Lisa, I'm giving it to you because you started off with the mentoring comment. Can you talk about how you met Marty? And because this is instructive for people who are running their own business and in many instances say, how can I help the community? Can you talk about how you two met and frame that up? So one of the things that, I want people to understand is that no matter where you are, you have to understand that you have to just keep going, right? And so I found myself in 2001 really being at an impasse where I was very fortunate that I moved into a better neighborhood with better schools for my kids, but it was also very rural. There was no public transportation present. And so it was very hard for me to get a job. I didn't have a car. And so, I had to go on welfare because I had to still have some kind of means to take care of my children. And, I'm very good at building relationships, and I built a relationship with my case manager, and she understood full well that I didn't want to be on welfare. And that's why you can't judge people. Some people are in a certain situation because they have no options, or their options are so limited. And so, all I told her is about I had just done this workforce training, medical billing and coding training, and it was the first time that I really completed something in my life. And, but it was just sitting there stagnant because I couldn't get a job, because I couldn't get to a job. And for some people who may not know, but in Baltimore County, the kids ride the school bus. And so it wasn't so much that I couldn't navigate, but logistically, it was just too hard to make sure. I had 3 kids under age 10. So I had 3 kids that had to get on the school bus, and then I had to get to a job. And so logistically, it just was not possible. And so my worker told me about a new program to the Department of Social Services called Vehicles for Change. And she said that, well, how sure of you that you could get a job? And I said, I can get a job. And sure enough, I got a job doing medical billing and coding at Johns Hopkins. But look at the logistics of it. I was living in Woodlawn. I had 3 children under age 10. So how on earth was I going to get from from Woodlawn to Johns Hopkins after the kids are on the bus, and get myself to work at 8:30 in the morning, right? And so she said, well, if you go get the job and get an offer letter, I will enroll you in this program. And she did that. I gave her the offer letter that I got a job doing medical billing and coding, which started my love for workforce training, because I saw what, that first good job, which was that job at Johns Hopkins, I saw what it did for me and my family, but the missing piece was transportation. And so I bought her the offer letter, and she connected me with Vehicles for Change. And I did all the, the paperwork, and I met Marty, and Marty was the secretary, the janitor, he was the accountant, and he was the administrative assistant, and but he got it done. I think when I got my car award, I think there were 6 or 7 other families getting cars. And he really, once again, he was the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. But the beauty of it is when you are doing every job for your organization, you're touching every part of it. So you're learning the vulnerabilities, you're learning the deficits, you're learning what works, and you're learning what doesn't work. And so he has been my mirror from that first day. And so, I went on to school, and in 2014, Vehicles for Change was turning 15. And so they came and found me. And they came and found me, and they interviewed me. And they said, you're one of the most successful recipients. By that time, I had gotten my undergraduate degree, and I was, on my way to grad school. And I was in grad school in 2014. Yep, I had just gotten into grad school. And Marty asked me to be one of the speakers at their 15-year anniversary. And
Wow.
And after that, he asked me to be on his advisory board, which was so much of an honor. And I've been the mascot ever since.
And mascot ever since. Now, you are a huge ambassador for Vehicles for Change. I've forgotten that job was at Hopkins too. I forgot that. Marty, tell us from your standpoint, how did this evolve, and how do you position yourself? I know personally you have a relationship with a lot of the people who get the cars. They talk about you and how you stay a part of their lives, and you help them move.
Yeah.
That's my play on word. That's my joke for the day. But you help them really move in their lives, but you don't do it in a way of like being a savior, right? You don't talk about yourself in that way. I've heard you talk about yourself as really someone that is a servant and a servant leader. And so can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's important for folks to, understand how you can position yourself when you're in that position.
Yeah. So, for me, and I was talking to some folks yesterday, and I think one of the important things is when you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to realize that, you're not the be all end all of everything. I was very lucky to have this opportunity. And I've surrounded myself with just incredibly smart, driven, passionate people about our program. And it does make it a little bit easier when you get to do what we do to go in and get excited about work every day and be driven to help people like Lisa. One of the cool things that Lisa didn't say was that about 2 years after she did the presentation for our 2015 event, I was at a CEO event. Used to be an organization called Smart CEO. They used to have these huge events couple hundred people there. And we were one of the presenting sponsors, and I typically go up and give a 2-minute talk. And, you know, I can go up and talk about our program all day, but not from a real impact standpoint, right? So here comes Lisa walking in the door. And so we talked for a few minutes, and I said, Lisa, I said, I want you to go up and do the presentation for me. I said, you will go up and talk about how it impacts people and what difference it made for you. And so Lisa said, I'll do that, but you have to promise me you show up at my MBA graduation.
Yeah.
I said, okay, that's a fair trade. I said, I'll be there.
Fair trade.
That's a fair trade. So Lisa went up, and I literally, she had the folks in tears talking about, you know, her life path. And, you know, a car just, it takes somebody like Lisa and just really literally puts them on the road to success.
Yeah.
And it just takes a car. I mean, I tell people all the time, to navigate life as a single mom in this world without a car is just virtually impossible. And the women that come to us to get cars that are doing it just blow me away. The fact that they are still doing it on a bus, you know, dragging their children out at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when you do what we do, and I'm just so humbled to see the people and the men and women that come out of prison and come into our training program and are so driven to be successful. I mean, you know, our training program starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. We right now have 10 men. We have had 10% women in our program, 10 men. Not a single one of them is ever late. As a matter of fact, most of them are there at 6:30 in the morning. And we have two guys, one coming from the Eastern Shore and one coming from Charles County, that drive an hour and a half to get there every day.
Wow.
And these are guys that were incarcerated for 15, 20 years, and all they want is a chance.
Yeah.
And man, when they get that chance, you open that door just a little bit, man, they're coming flying through. I mean, they're graduating from our program with ASE certifications. And if there's anybody out there that knows anything about automotive, that's not an easy test to pass.
Yeah.
And these guys are finishing 4, 6, 8 of the 10 ASE certifications.
Wow.
So, you know, we're just very lucky to get to do what we do. I love the people we work with. And, you know, I think if one thing, if you're looking to build a business, and as you get bigger, it gets more difficult. You know, you're not you're the driver of the organization, but you better have the smarts to hire people who know what you don't know. And give them the opportunity to do their thing. Because if you don't, you're never, ever going to be around for 20 years. I guarantee you that.
No, absolutely. And that segues into a question. You must be putting these questions out there. People are asking this question about how many people work for you. We got this from Facebook. How many people work for you, and how did you learn to trust your employees? How many people are working for you, Marty?
Wow. How did you learn to trust your employees is a really, really tough question. Because I'm a very trustworthy person anyway. We have 30 staff right now. With opening Prince George's and Salisbury, will be a little over 45. We learned the hard way, because we had some people take advantage of us early on. And we now have a whole new hiring process. And our hiring process is driven by our core values. So we hire an individual first based on how well they assimilate to our core values, right? So we want to make sure that they meet our core values of family and integrity and positively outrageous service and on and on. And we do a 3-hour interview with our potential employee. And then we interview for skill level second, because we figure we can always bring your skill level up, but boy, we cannot
teach those cores.
Teach the core values. So, you know, we've gotten better. We've hired in the last 5 or 6 years, the people that we've brought on have been just outstanding. And because we've hired for core values, and it makes a huge difference.
That's excellent. Lisa, how many people do you have in your employ?
So my business model is different. So everything is kind of facilitated in cohorts. And so when I do bring people on, like if I need to bring a nurse on to do a training, or I need to bring an instructor on to do some kind of specialized instruction. And so one of the things that you have to understand, and this is something that Marty and I talked about, and Marty is right, the larger you get, the more difficult it becomes. And I'll never forget when, so I used to enjoy knowing all my students. And I never forget, I called Marty and I was crying and I said, I ran into a student and she was just so happy to see me. And she talked about her experience at Celeebrate Us, and I didn't know her. And so that was so great. Marty said, that's a good sign. It's showing that you're impacting people, but you're also growing. And so, and he told me, he said, brace yourself. Wait until you hire people that you don't know. And so I'm looking forward to that. But when I do bring other people on, they have to be like-minded. They don't have to be exactly like me, but they have to have a passion for helping people. You're not going to get rich working in human services. So you have to be wired in a way that you just have a passion for helping people. And I'm very fortunate that the people that I have brought on, number one, they have the skill set and the acumen of workforce training, but they just have a passion for helping people. And one of the things that I learned is that if you love something enough to do it for free, that's your passion. And certainly before I started being compensated for workforce training, I certainly gave away plenty of free, services. But if I did.
Oh my.
Yeah, no. I can read your lips, Lisa, and I can. You said you have to be willing to do it for free. Your mic just went out just a little. I'm following up with another question, which is we have someone, and people can still write in questions, but we have quite a few. I'm a small business owner and having a really hard time transitioning during COVID. How has your business been dealing with the pandemic? Marty, you want to start off?
Yeah, we've actually been pretty lucky because we're considered a garage, so we were able to stay open. Our garages are open to the public, so anybody can bring their car in there. Early on, we made a call to the Department of Labor and said, the guys that we're training, they rely. Our training program is a paid internship, and they rely on that weekly pay to survive. And if they don't, we were concerned we were going to lose them. So we went to the Department of Labor and they had allowed us to continue our training. But our car donations went down by 30 to 40%. So we started losing, about 15%, 20% of our overall revenue. And so we had to make some changes. We closed our Detroit office. We kind of rallied the troops around and kind of pulled everybody together and said, listen, this is where we are. And we do a lot to make sure that we don't get impacted by the pandemic personally, so that, we wear a mask when we're inside, we disinfect everything. Because, what I tell folks is, look, if we have to go home, we may still get paid, but we can't continue to pay our interns, and they're the ones that are going to be most impacted. So, and we're still providing cars. It's a difficult time. I mean, I'm not sure I can tell people what to do. I mean, ours is a different business. So, I have empathy for those folks out there that restaurants and stores and those types of things that are really struggling.
Yeah. How about you, Lisa? How are you doing? How's your business been dealing with the pandemic?
So when the state of Maryland went into a state of emergency, so in one day, my program lost 4 contracts. On the day that Delaware went into a state of emergency, I was actually at the train station, and I got a call. I was on my way to Delaware to teach. And if you know how it is when...
Oh, your sound went out, Lisa. Uh-oh. You know what? Zoom is keep this. I'm telling you, these internet connections are just trying to make us. This happened to me. No worries, no worries. We're gonna get Lisa.
4 contracts.
Okay, go ahead. Yes, you're back.
Sorry.
You're back.
Oh, okay. How much did you hear? You want me to repeat?
You say you were on your way to Delaware.
Yes.
They were telling you lost the contract.
Yeah, everything had to come to a halt.
Yes.
And so, so I remember my son having to come to the train station to pick me up. And so then the emails started flying. Then I lost another contract, and I lost another contract. And so one of the things that you're going to have to understand if you want to be an entrepreneur, and you're going to have to understand that, this is a direct quote from my mentor. Marty told me one day, you have to be a boxer. You have to be a boxer because a good boxer can hit, but a great boxer can take a hit. And so I took a massive hit all in one day. And so, but you have to, your dream and your vision for your business it will have to be bigger than what the adversity is. And that takes a certain level of mental toughness. And so you have to, one of my favorite books is a book that I read called Rhinoceros Success. Rhinoceros Success by Scott Alexander. And the whole idea is that you have to have skin as thick as a rhinoceros to even understand what it is to be an entrepreneur. Are you going to cry? Are you going to be devastated? Absolutely. But you have to have the wherewithal and the resilience to understand that it's all mixed in the cake. It's all a part of it, you know? And so one of the things that I had done to be able to manage is I understood that I can't let my dream die on this hill. And so what I did was I really I evaluated the business, I evaluated the partnerships, and I looked for opportunities. And so I saw a couple of opportunities. I looked at my own skill set, and for a long time, I really had a really good skill of being able to build relationships. And the way you build relationships is that you make it a win-win. You know, there's no effective relationship that's going to, exist if you're the only one winning. And so I understood that if I could build relationships with employers that would be appealing to potential students, maybe I should start charging an enrollment fee. And so what I did was I really searched out employers who are really hard to get hired. And so, there are a lot of employers that, it's really hard to kind of get through those layers. And once again, I activated my skills. And so you have to understand, to be an effective entrepreneur, you have to have skills of your own as the owner founder, because you're not going to be able to pay for everything that you need. And so you're going to have, a source of skill sets that, as they say, you're going to need to have skills to pay the bills. And
yes.
So
good quote.
Yeah, you have to have skills. And so I activated my relationship building skills. And so one of the things that I learned in this.
Oh, you went out. Oh no. Okay, Marty, we're gonna get you. We got 4 more minutes, so I want to make sure we get to. Let me get Lisa. Someone wrote on poll everywhere. Congratulations on your strength and determination to change yourself, but more importantly, do the same for your community. Very beautiful. Marty, let me ask you this question. We got two more, and I got 4 minutes. So I'm gonna get through them. Does anybody find that a collaboration with driving schools or driving record correctional institutions might be helpful for you? Would you?
So we do collaborate some with driving schools because a lot of our guys that come out do not have a license and they need to go through driver's ed. Driver's ed is very expensive. We actually had a grant from the Able Foundation to help pay for driver's ed for some of our guys. So we are, interested in driving ed partnerships. So absolutely, we'd be interested in working with some schools if there's a way to get some discounted rates and to help our guys get through. I always say guys, but we have men and women to get through those programs.
Excellent, excellent. Let me give you this last question, which is, how can we be helpful to you? What are the ways that, I always say that Bill Gates, well, no, I don't usually use Bill Gates. I use Jeff Bezos and Oprah, but I chose we'll do Robert Smith and Bill Gates. What would you? We have a range of people on here. How can we be helpful? We also have folks from businesses, industry. How can we be helpful to you? Why don't I start with maybe one or two things, Marty, we can do to be supportive?
Sure. So donate cars. We need cars. There's the need is well outranges the demand rather well outranges the amount of cars that we get donated. We always need more cars. Our garages are open to the public. So, if you're in our neighborhood, if you're a Johns Hopkins student, if you're in the Hopkins neighborhood or in the Halethorpe 21228 area, bring your car to us. We'll save you money, and all that money goes back to our training program. And anybody out there that maybe is Jeff Bezos listening, we're coming after some big money. I know he has committed $13 million, I believe, to social justice programs. I think we fit the bill. So we are looking for some partners that want to partner with us and help expand this program nationally.
Excellent, excellent. Lisa, what are one or two things that people can do to be supportive of your work?
Okay, so Celebrate Us is a jobs program. And so I'm always looking to partner with more employers. And so that's one aspect of it. But there's another aspect that I realized what Celebrate Us does. It gives people hope. I have people that they have been in one, sector or one industry for so long, but they, I had a young lady call me this morning. She's been a CNA for 12 years. And she called me. She said, Miss Lisa, I want to be an LPN. And so, so if someone is in your family, encourage them to upskill, to get a certification. I have a wonderful initiative going on right now, No More Babies Born into Poverty. And so, we know that the COVID babies are coming, right? But what we want to do is we want to get the moms as prepared as possible with, if you are, between 10 to 13 weeks pregnant, contact us and let's get you a career started so that you can build a career right along with raising your baby so that no more babies are born into poverty. And so I'm really happy with the students that I've gotten so far. They are really motivated and so if you know someone, that has a special delivery coming this fall, this winter, send them my way and let's have two welcome. Let's welcome them with a career and welcome them with their new baby.
Excellent, excellent, excellent job. We are run out of time, but let me make sure everyone, first of all, thank you, Marty. Thank you, Lisa, for all you do in our community. Thank you for being on this webinar today. Let me make sure people know how to get in contact with you, Marty. You're on social media at Vehicles for Change on Twitter and Facebook and on Instagram. You have an email address people can use for you, Marty?
Sure do. It's M as in Martin Schwartz, SCHWARTZ. Right there is my name at vehiclesforchange.org.
Excellent. And Lisa, you're at Celebrate Us Workforce Training on Facebook and Celeebrate with 2 E's. So CELEEBRATE us on Twitter. And do you have an email that people can reach out to you with, Lisa?
So it's Lisa at celebrateusworkforcetraining.com.
Great. Excellent. Excellent job. Again, thank you both. You have been phenomenal. Next
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Next week at the same time, we're going to have 2 more entrepreneurs. Alma Roberts, who is an artist and also works at Casa Permanente. So you're going to see a versatile, how you can be an entrepreneur and have another job. And then Chris Wilson, who's a gifted author and an amazing artist, who we will see at 1:00 next Thursday. Please follow us on JH Connects on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Email us feedback at jhconnects@jhu.edu. I want to thank community partners, Johns Hopkins University, Johns Hopkins Health System, Hopkins Local, the Mayor's Office of Small Minority and Women-Owned Business, and the Warnock Foundation. Thank you all for coming, and we will see you again next week, same time, same place. Thank you so much. All right.